Hello there. So recently I discovered that some new aerial shots of Alton Towers and the surrounding area had been uploaded to Google Earth. Now, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner, these images are dated from November 2024, which certainly checks out in terms of whether the date's accurate because there is a certain project about a certain ocean that you can see in a bit of the car park and in the park. So let's have a closer look. And here we have the Enchanted Village. It would be absolutely amazing to stay in one of these. But what I thought was particularly interesting is you can see how they have cleared paths everywhere around all of the car parks. Obviously, there's clear pathways for people as well as roadway for the cars. But one thing I'm trying to work out is whether the Enchanted Village was open around mid-late November, if that specific date is correct. But regardless, they have made sure that the car parks and every single parking space, pretty much where it's needed, is cleared. Now, I can't imagine people staying in the stargazing pods in November, but they have cleared a small path here as well. So, whether that is just a regulation thing for them, whether they have to make sure that regardless of whether it's open or not, paths and roadways have to be clear, I'm not too sure. So over here we have the Alton Towers Hotel. It's quite nice seeing all the snow around here. That would be really nice to see. And then, of course, we've got the water park, which weirdly, I can't really see any snow. It could just be really shadowed, though, from the building being quite tall. Another area we have here is Extraordinary Golf. Originally, all of this was covered in snow, and they had a diagonal line here to meet up here and then down there. Also, I am not sure what this area is, if anyone has any idea. What I love about these aerial shots is the fact that we have Project Ocean in this car park. Now, a couple of people posted videos online about the Project Ocean actual ride parts coming to the park in November. So this is how I know that the dates must be accurate. So I'm just going to skip over very slightly, going completely the wrong way, to the Project Ocean site, or Toxicator, however much you want to, whatever you want to say. So whilst this is terrible quality, this does give us a little bit of a view of how the site looked back in November. So I remember in the plans there were a couple of rounds of theming structures located, and we do have this piece here. I'm assuming that this must be where the main ride sits, or would sit, if it's not here yet in this image. And then I feel like, is this staircasing? And I believe this is where the queue line will be. We do have a huge crane here as well. And I believe that that is bunker 94, unless I'm mistaken. So either things are about to go into place, or it's already in place and you just can't tell in this image because it doesn't have the best light despite the sunny conditions of the rest of these aerial shots. But I just thought it was great that we actually have Project Ocean kind of recorded and documented in Google Earth. I think it's quite cool. Now, a ride that would be amazing in the snow would be Galactica. Imagine snow all around here and going through the portal. And just generally, this bit especially, just look at all that thick blanket of snow there. This really would be so cool. And to be on a flying coaster going through snowy land would just be even better. So up here we have Nemesis, and because of the snow, Nemesis does look a little bit like its old self. So it doesn't look so much Nemesis Reborn because of the snow that's on the track, giving it that sort of greyish appearance. The monster looks really weird from above. At first, I didn't think it was the new monster, but you can see all the snow here. Again, it would be quite cool to experience in the snow, to be fair. So over here we have got, is it the blade that stood there? I'm completely losing all my boundaries. So going up here then, I just wanted to have a little look at some of the sort of behind the scenes areas that you can see, just to see what's changed in general and to see it in the snow. So we know that the monorails weren't running. I don't think they were running because the tracks are all completely covered in snow the whole way around. You've got these like double parallel lines of white, and then you've got 5 trains here. So over here we have what looks like a load of mess. So let's have a little zoom down here. So anyone know what all of this nonsense is? It looks like a load of rubbish, to be honest. Now, over here, this is one of my favourite things to spy on when I go to Alton Towers. I like to walk back down here because you can peek through this gate. There's a little hole where the handle is and the lock. And you can peek through and you can see a few things. Now, one thing you can tell just, and there's more of them in previous shots, is this little shape here. 99% sure that is a flume boat. And the last time I went to Alton Towers back in October, I'm sure it was early October, I just about caught a tiny glimpse of what I'm almost completely certain was a flume boat from looking through this gate. So I always like to have a nose. I believe this is a Battle Galleons boat, and I've seen this a couple of times through the gate. There's also what looks like an old Squirrel Nutty / CBeebies Get Set Go buggy in the back, but it looked very faded with little colour on it the last time I saw it. Now, something else that's changed in these aerial shots, of course, is the Scare Maze building that was constructed here. And there did used to be some old flume boats dotted around here, so I don't really know what's happened to them, to be honest. Another thing that these aerial shots do, though, is because the tops of the buildings are so bright and white, especially with the sun as well, is they really help you appreciate how big buildings are. Now, I just want to go up here a little bit because what on earth is all of this? Now, does anyone know? Seriously, does anyone know? Seriously, what are these? At first, I thought they might be skyride gondolas. And indeed, when I last went to the park, I did see one of the gondolas right near one of the gates. They almost don't look big enough, so I'm doubtful. But does anyone know what these are, or do they remember? So over here, we have got the rapids and, of course, the runaway mine train. So the runaway mine train, again, that would be quite fun to go. I think any roller coaster in the snow would be fun. So basically, I'm going to be saying that for every single one. And also, of course, we have Congo River Rapids. Now, Congo River Rapids did have maintenance towards the end of last season, but here it must have been refilled with water again because we can see all of the boats waiting here. And then one of the best sights, I must say, is Wicker Man. Look at this. How incredible, wrong way. How incredible does this look? I would love to walk around the park like this. It would just be so nice. And I mean, there is something about a wooden coaster in snow that looks even better. I've seen some videos and photos of Woden at Europa Park in the snow in operation, and it just looks incredible. So yeah, and weirdly, this makes me think about the flume that, of course, used to be in this location, because this woodland is where the flume went through before coming round and doing its big final drop and sort of back into the lake that was here. Now, because, of course, there's less leaves on a lot of the trees, you can see it. I don't know where exactly it used to go, and I don't know if this is coincidence, but it looks like this is either an old route for the flume or it's just a cleared pathway. But why there would be one in the middle of a woodland where I doubt staff have to go and where guests obviously never go, I've got no idea. And also in this image, because of all the shadows, I can't quite tell where the flume concrete should normally be, but I love looking out for that when I go. Any Easter eggs like that, I just love. Now, this is behind, so as you come in from the main entrance, this is behind the left side of Tower Street as you're coming in. So let's carry on in the rest of Mutiny Bay. So I can imagine this would be quite fun to go around. You can see they've got the big tents and gazebos up here. But here we have got the Christmas trees with very tall, odd-looking shadows. Now, something I want to highlight here as well is the lawns, because oh my goodness, you can tell how much of a hammering they've had. And they've had quite a lot this year. Not only has there been the CBB's 10-year celebrations, which went on for quite a long time, not in a bad way, they just did, but you've also got fireworks, you've got Oktoberfest, Halloween, and they really have had quite a bashing. And I was puzzled at first as to why they've cleared so much of the snow, because clearly they've scraped and ploughed a lot of it away. And I could be wrong, but I think they've done it to help let the lawn recover, because they've only really concentrated it where the lawn is at its worst. So this is, with a couple of little exceptions here, this bit's fairly clear. And in my mind, I feel like they might have done this to just purely help the ground, stop it getting any wetter, let it air. So let's have a little look in CBeebies land then. So again, lots of areas covered in snow that aren't going to be accessed. So Big Fun Showtime and the playground around here, of course. You've got Postman Pat. Now this is where the new kids coaster is going to be, that is opening, is it 2026? Anyway, the one that's opening in the next year or two is very likely to go in this location if reports are to be believed. So up here is a corner that looks a little bit snowy, but this would be a particularly magical area to go. Now this is where you can go to visit Father Christmas or Santa, whatever you call him. There's 3 cabins and there are lots of fir trees planted, which over the years have grown loads. So it really would look like even more of a winter wonderland than it already does with the snow falling. So again, quite a lot of free pathways here, but also I think the sun has got on them as well. And here is delivery/security office. This is a bit of a goods in entrance here. Over here we have got Spinball Wizard and Octonauts, but you can see, you can't really see too much if the pathways are cleared, but I'm assuming they are. But you can see how clearly Spinball Wizard's not doing anything anytime soon. It's covered. I can't imagine that would be a fun ride in the ice and the wet and the snow though, so it's probably one at the bottom of my list to go on in these conditions. You can see over here you've got the conference centre, and then this is where you can play golf. One of the last times I was there, I did see a girl in waders going around this section picking up all the golf balls, which I thought was quite funny, and also I felt sorry for her. But also, I can think of worse jobs. You've got one of the arcades there. And then let's go over to here. So let's go and have a look at X Sector and specifically the Smiler. Now, it is shadowed a bit in these images, which is a little bit of a shame. But you can see here, to me, it actually looks less inverted. To me, it looks like there's less inversions because you've got certain elements that almost look straighter because of all the shadows, and some of the bits that look white, they almost look a bit grey. So it doesn't look like the most looping and twisting of coasters. But this bit looks a bit more foreboding, I think. And of course, we've got Oblivion. Now, again, it's a little bit shadowed, so the big Oblivion hole here, the tunnel, isn't quite as scary looking to me as it would normally be. To me, this part almost looks scarier looking at it from the top down. Now, you've got some clearances, of course, around the back on the service road and some other little bits here so that staff can get around safely, of course. I can't tell if this is a couple of the food vans. Do you remember the silver food vans that for some reason just turned up in this section? There was 4 of them, wasn't there? One of them was a drinks one, and there was just a few of them here. I mean, this area is crying out for a couple of flat rides, isn't it? So hopefully that will happen one day soon. I said that like I know something. I don't. So let's just zoom out a little bit, of course. Now, over here, I'll tell you what, let's have a look at the towers. I'm just going to straighten it up a bit. The towers, I mean, wow, isn't even the right phrase. Look at this. Just look at it. I wonder if much snow had actually fallen inside the ruins, because it just looks too dark to be able to tell. But if we zoom out, imagine actually living in the towers when it was in operation and looking in operation when it was a home. I'm too much theme park speak. And looking out and seeing the lake and just seeing all this snow everywhere. Just how amazing would that have been? So the towers, you can see you've got the gardens here, and it just looks so untouched. It looks so nice. It really does look so nice. Now we've got Hex over here, and then I'll move on to this section and sort of finish off this corner of the park. So we've got the driving school. Doesn't really look like there's too much driving going on. Now, this is the corner where Flavio's Fabulous Fandango used to be. I say that because it looks like it has completely gone. Normally you'd see it sat there, but you can't see anything at all apart from this shape, but I don't think that's anything to do with the ride. So that brings me on to this actually. This is just something I wanted to point out. And if anyone knows what this could be, please let me know. But you see this here? It's got a couple of white spots here, some wider white looking bits here. Now, could this be either something like the heave-ho kind of bottom part, where it's kind of like, because it almost looks like it could be a little bit blue. Could it be that sort of bottom section of heave ho? Could it be something to do with another ride? Could it be something completely unrelated? Or could this be Flavio's packed up in one of those fairground sort of type trucks ready to go? What do we think this is? Could it be Flavio's or some other part of a ride? What do we reckon? Again, lots of cars, lots of people here working today. This is why I say today, it's not today, but this day in November. It still fascinates me that there's this many cars all over if it wasn't open to the public, with the winter event and all the rest of it. But you've got all these, don't quite know what a lot of this stuff is in the backyard and the service area, so I'm brushing over it. But I do know that there are old ride parts sometimes dotted around some of these areas. In some of the other shots you can see in and around here, there was the Twirling Toadstool operator's cabin. You could still see that in some shots from a few years ago. So I'd be so intrigued to walk around here. That really would be a life goal, to get to have a look behind the scenes and just see like old signs, old props, whatever. Even if it's all old and scratched up, I would still, I'd still love to see it. So again, a bit more snow dotted around. You've got more of these kind of evergreen trees, so it looks a bit more like the usual Alton Towers. And then over here, you've got what used to be Toyland Tours and was the Amigos in the Afterlife sort of family-friendly scare attraction. And before that was the Dungeons. So there's planning permission for solar panels on this building. But as to its long-term future, I don't know, but I hope it becomes another ride. Oh, this, by the way, is the old coaster corner where the Project Horizon is meant to be, because it's near the flag tower. So the flag tower is there. And then this is the location. So I can't wait for more to happen on that. And I hope we get more announcements or something soon. And then we haven't been to the Dark Forest or the gardens. So we'll go to the Dark Forest. We're there now. And then we will go to the gardens at the end. So again, 13, being a coaster that goes outside for the majority of the layout. This would be a really nice coaster to experience in the snow, because even though the other coasters with the steep drops and the inversions are incredible, in the snow, I can't imagine you can really enjoy the surroundings in the same way. Whereas on 13, you're not really doing inversions and things like that and super, super tall, high, steep drops. So this would be a really nice coaster to experience in the snow, because you've got the snow here going all through the trees and all of that. So that would be really nice. Rita, I don't know if you could necessarily enjoy it in the same way. And again, in the cold, wet, icy snow, a 61, whatever it is, mile an hour launch would be really quite something. It would not be fun. So we've got all of that, rest in peace, Ugland. And then let's go to the gardens to finish. So the gardens, look so pretty, especially nearer the top where the old greenhouse area is. And there we go. Just do a tiny little bit more. So whilst a lot of the gardens is in shadow, you can still tell how there's all the different layers and it just looks beautiful. It really does. I mean, imagine going over the gardens in the snow on the sky ride. Now that would be awesome. So here you can really appreciate the symmetry and really the styling and the curves and everything that went into creating these gardens. And they really do look incredible. So I think that's pretty much it. Just zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, I would absolutely love to walk around the park in this weather. I know that they can't necessarily plan that, plan when there might be snowy weather and let people just go for a walk around. But you never know, there might be a day where they do let people in and it happens to have snowed. I don't know. So I hope you've enjoyed and I will see you next time.